Hi, and welcome to Create with Casey. Today we're going to be making one of my favorite things to both create and eat. We're going to be making kimchi, which is a Korean dish that actually means fermented vegetables. Usually it's a little bit spicy. Koreans eat kimchi with every single meal, and I've started to also do pretty much the same. Kimchi is great with eggs. You can make kimchi fried rice. It's great in soups or even just a side to eat as a snack. I'm making kimchi today because I think there's a lot on the internet and different recipes that says you need very, very specific ingredients to make kimchi, which is true if you want to make it the proper way. But you can make delicious vegan kimchi by using simple ingredients you have in your house. That's okay. And that starts with cabbage. This is Napa cabbage, which is actually the proper cabbage to use for kimchi. I happen to find it at the grocery store, but a lot of times you cannot. And really any type of cabbage is okay. Green head of cabbage, you can even use purple cabbage. Might change the flavor a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's okay. The other key ingredients that you need with kimchi is an onion, some fresh ginger, garlic, and the red chili powder. I think this holds the greatest weight. Yes, there is Korean chili powder out there. Me personally, I cook a lot of Indian food and I happen to have that type of chili powder, and I've used this to make delicious kimchi. So even if you have red chili pepper flakes or any other type of red chili that has some heat to it, it's okay. You'll need salt, and then there's other ingredients that you can use for the kimchi if you have floating around. For me, I have some scallions and I have some carrots. Also, if you have any radishes or any other type of green leafy vegetables like kale, they also complement kimchi really, really well. So we'll start cutting this all up and we'll get started on making one of my favorite things. So just make sure you rinse all your vegetables beforehand. This is a fermentation process, so we want to make sure we're being clean. But I like to cut what I call the butt of the cabbage off. And then you can sort of just start cutting the cabbage into quarters. If you have a round cabbage, just try to cut it into smaller pieces. Basically what we want to do is try to get it in 1-inch pieces. So whichever way is best for you to do that, go ahead, depending on what cabbage you have. So little pro tip, always save a couple of the outer layers of the cabbage, which will be used later. Also, just slice up your other vegetables as necessary. If you're cutting radishes, just slice them into very thin pieces. Scallions, I like to do little 1/4-inch pieces. And for the carrots, I'll usually just use a peeler for those. So now all the veggies are cut and we're gonna go hot and heavy with salt. So it's okay if we're putting a lot and you're cringing. A lot of this will get rinsed out later. But you really wanna go quite heavy with it. And then we're gonna add some water to the actual bowl, and we're gonna wanna mix that all up. And after just about a minute of mixing, you can see that the vegetables are already starting to wilt. So I recommend mixing the cabbage for a couple of minutes before we allow it to rest. So now the vegetables are sitting at a healthy level of brine. We're gonna allow this to sit for about 2 to 3 hours. Some people leave it overnight, but we're gonna leave it for a couple hours. In the meantime, we'll start making the chili paste. So now we're going to make our paste with our chili, onion, garlic, and ginger. We're gonna chop everything up, and I like to put it in a blender. And depending on how much cabbage you've used is how much you use of these ingredients. I would say for about every head of cabbage, use 1/2 onion, about 4 to 5 garlic cloves, 1 inch of chopped ginger. And the red chili is really gonna depend on how spicy your chili powder is, what your preference is for a spice tolerance for the kimchi. I'll probably use about a teaspoon, but we'll chop this all up and put it in the blender. So now you got everything chopped up in the blender. I usually put a tiny bit of water just to get things moving. And one optional thing that you can do, but it's absolutely not necessary, is to add a tablespoon of rice flour. This will thicken up the paste just a little bit. But again, if you don't have it, it's completely not necessary. It just changes the texture of the kimchi the slightest. Oh yeah, and the paste is looking good. The kimchi's been resting for about 3 hours in the brine, so it's time to drain all the liquid and start rinsing all of the salt off. I usually rinse about 3 to 4 times. You can always test a piece of cabbage, making sure it's not too salty before you start adding in the chili paste. So after draining the water completely, we'll add the chili paste and mix it all in nice and evenly. Once everything is mixed up evenly, it's time to start filling your jars. So really stuff as much of the cabbage as you can into the container, and you really want to press it down. We're going for almost no air at the bottom. You can use any tool you'd like to really just press down the vegetables and continue to stuff more and more in as you go. So now that everything is stuffed down real tight, here's where our extra cabbage leaves come in. They're gonna act as little sealants, just to cover up the top of the exposed part of the kimchi. It helps to keep out any oxygen and stuff down the good kimchi that we are going to eat below the surface. So I just usually cut off a couple pieces, stuff it on the top, push it down. It's okay if juice comes up on top, and then go ahead and seal your lids on. So now the lids are on, but they're on loosely, and this is just to allow any bubbles to escape with the fermentation process. But with that, there will also be juices escaping. So it's very important to place your kimchi in a bowl or in a plate during this process to catch any of those juices that will leak out. As far as timeline, usually my kimchi is ready in about 3 to 4 days. If you like the flavor to be a little bit more robust, you can wait a week. I highly encourage tasting in between just to be sure it is to your liking. Some people around the world, especially in Korea, will actually age their kimchi for months. They usually store it in cool, dark locations. If you're gonna do that, I highly recommend checking on it frequently. But otherwise, we'll check back in when it's ready to eat, to taste it, and enjoy it. All right, everyone. So after just 1 day, the kimchi was already starting to ferment. It started to bubble, it was spilling over. And now after just 5 days, our kimchi is ready to go. I've already tasted it, and it has an amazing flavor. It has a beautiful tang to it. It's spicy, it's crisp, and has a really fresh texture. If you were to let this go longer than 5 days, you're probably gonna get a little bit more robust of a flavor, more tang, a little bit more funk. So leave it as long as you would like, depending on what you're looking for. You can taste it along the way. So hopefully this is informative so that you know that kimchi is easy to make. It doesn't take too long, and you can use ingredients that you have around the house. Don't go searching for all these rare things that you read about, and you can make it vegan as well. So this is gonna be great in our tacos tonight, but also great for salads, soups, and even just as a snack on these hot days. So happy kimchi making, and I hope you enjoy it.